Welcome to the Room at the Table podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Milo. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Room at the Table podcast with Kimberly Milo. I'm looking forward to having you join us today virtually to listen to a conversation with a new friend of mine. Her name is Nadia Caporaso. Did I say it right? Caporaso?
It's good. Nadia.
I know it's Italian, beautiful last name. And we're going to be talking today not only about faith, of course, because we always talk about how people come to Christ, but we'll be talking about how part of her faith has really inspired her in a philanthropy that she runs called Riverbank. So Nadia, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning all about your journey with Riverbank. Your website is awesome. You're local to Orange County, California. So for me, who's often wanting to, if I'm moving things around my house, and I know part of what you guys do is you do furnishing stuff through Riverbank. And so I love finding you for that because I thought I don't like throwing things away, of course. I don't like always doing the Goodwill donations. So you're just the perfect spot if something's in good condition. So we'll get to that later. But just personally, if you're in Orange County, you'll want to hear this because Orange County, California, because this is a great place to think about donating some of your furniture for people in need in our area. So stay tuned for that. And before we dive in to get to know Nadia a little bit, I just want to thank everybody for following the show and watching. And if this podcast is encouraging you and is helping you in any way, please consider forwarding it on and sharing it with a friend. You really want to get the message out that being a Christian has its wonky ups and downs. It's not like a straight line to God. It's a relationship that takes time and commitment. And so my hope in the podcast is that through all of my various guests who have been doing amazing things, whether it's philanthropies or writing books or whatever their work is, that you're seeing that Jesus is the way to get yourself through the trials and traumas of our life and to have a joy that's lasting. You're not constantly on the hamster wheel of looking for the next thing for your peace. He is the way to feel steady through all the trials of life. So Nadia, before we get started into your journey, pick a number between 1 and 10.
2.
Okay, 2. Okay, do you prefer a podcast or an audiobook?
Oh, gosh, it just depends on my mood. Yeah, probably a podcast.
Yeah, I'm obviously a podcast. So I've been listening for years, and I find it so educational and informational. Books are good too, but I'm a visual person. So if I'm reading a book, I tend to do better with remembering it if I have the pages in my hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you another question then. To know you right now in this moment of your life, that could be in this moment, like in this minute, kind of better sense. You can go shallow or deep end here.
Okay.
To know you right now is to know what?
To know me right now is to know I am super excited for just 2026 and what is coming. And I feel like everyone is talking about like next chapters. And I feel like everyone who is kind of in my orbit and is connected to me has been going through something kind of big or in a transition. And we've kind of all been going through that together. So I'm excited for what's to come for all of us.
That's neat.
I'd be looking for 2.0.
Well, you're not alone in that because you said everybody in your orbit. So it sounds like people are going through and just change too.
We're in a big turning point, like not to go there, but
right.
Concrete and everywhere. And it's just, I feel like it just carried over.
I think
local everywhere. So
yeah, people wanting purpose and wanting to feel that their time, is spent well.
Yeah.
It's going through the motions. I do feel that too in the last several months from a lot of people and for myself too.
Like kind of gritty and dirty and weary and tired and not hopeless, but kind of hopeless and just really hard and challenging and bad. But I feel like it's turned the corner and now it feels hopeful and exciting and wonderful, and we're in that part of it now.
And those are the parts of life and the seasons of life that we love. And then and the unknown and the waiting and the where are you, God, and the why am I going through this, or why are we all going through this? Why is our country going through all those things? Those are the parts where your faith kind of rubber meets the road, when you're, okay, I know you're here, Lord, but this is not a fun part. So it's really nice when you start seeing the fruit of some of that patience and that trust during the kind of deserts.
Yeah.
Well, before we start talking about how you met Christ and then ultimately how that has propelled you into Riverbank, you're a realtor by trade. Right now you're doing some investor relations for a real estate company, but you also have a daughter.
Yes.
And so are you full-time doing work and Riverbank, or is it part-time? How does that work for your...
I'm like full-time doing everything. I feel like my full-time job is being a mom because that's the best part, and my daughter's the best part of life. So she comes first, and she's so fun, and I'm treasuring every single minute and every single car ride and every single part of helping her with her Macbeth paper and government projects and all the stuff. And she plays club volleyball, and I absolutely love every second of it. So, and that is like a part-time job in and of itself.
Hey, no mom too.
And it's so fun. And I play volleyball and club too. So I'm just like relishing every second of it. And we're about to start club next week. So we're doing all the preseason clinics and training and stuff. So that's my first full-time job. And then Riverbank is my second full-time job that I also love. And then doing investor relations stuff and real estate is also full-time, but it just works.
That's on.
It just works.
You have a lot of hats, it sounds like. Usually most moms do, but I'm glad that you're feeling fulfilled in all of that. So
Yeah.
About your faith journey. I know you're from Orange County. So were you always raised in the faith, or did you find it later in life?
I mean, I think I've never not known God, and my family has been faithful for generations. My grandparents met in the choir loft in Alabama, which is just like precious little place to meet. And I grew up watching my mom and my stepdad, go to Bible study on Monday night in my room beyond committees at church. And I went to vacation Bible school at my grandparents' church and all that kind of stuff. And I ebbed and flowed with it. I never had a time where I was like, God, you've forsaken me and I've walked away or anything. But I certainly had times in my life where he wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
And I for sure wish that I'd never had those times, because those were not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like coming back into college and law school, and then being a grown-up, and then getting married, and then I don't know what happened, but like the minute I got pregnant, I was like, oh, Jesus, okay, what is this? And Sweetie became front and center again. And just with church, and I knew I wanted my child to never not know him for a minute.
I love that. And that feeling as a mom, because I remember I met him later in life, but in like my teens, but I wasn't following closely or anything. But once I had my kids, I was always kind of a seeker and curious. But once I had my first child, that is such a holy, sacred moment for some of us. I mean, it's obviously a life-changing moment for every mother, but it's not maybe necessarily feeling like sacred or holy, but I had that feeling too. Like, oh, as a mom, okay, like, now I personally think it's because he is our father and we are his children. So then when we have children, we're made in his image, we start to understand that depth of love, which we can't, of course, know his love. It's always more encompassed ours. Ours is only flesh and human, but I think that's partly what it is for some of us who kind of get that relationship of like, oh, now I understand what selfless love is, because you do anything, for your child. I can relate to that, wanting to know him better, especially once you had your daughter. that when you started, diving in even deeper then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that definitely changed the trajectory of just, I mean, my life for sure, but my faith and my priorities and how I considered God, how I prioritized him, how I found him, how I sought after him, how I oriented my life, like all the things.
Journey. I mean, it looks different for everybody. So and I'm curious what it looked like for you. Were you just going to church? Did you join a Bible study? Did you just read on your own? What was that like for you?
All the things. Yeah, I like went to church, and then after Annabella was born, I went to MOPS, and like that was just a time in life I want to like freeze and just stay there. I mean, it was so sweetest little time with all this sweetest little mom friends and the little diapers and just like fresh, like this little.
So precious. It really, really is. Because you're all in that season and you're just with your child, as hard as it is, with the sounds of all the parenting stuff, but such a microcosm of time, and it's fleeting, and that when you're in it, but it still goes so fast. So,
and there's just such a tenderness about it, and like not just a tenderness like for your baby, but the tenderness for yourself, and like I just felt such a tenderness from God, and like a tenderness with the other moms. Like I don't know, it's just such a sweet time.
Good word for it. Tender is a very, very special, unique time in life as a female, as a mother, for sure. Because it's just so fast, how fast it all goes. And I know you're saying about her being 16 and playing volleyball, because that your days are numbered with her maybe living in your house and you having influence over her. And it's true. And there's an end part to that. There's an end date. So you're smart to just eat it all up and just enjoy it.
And I have been like, I think I've been really good about that, about being conscious of it this whole time, and like really not taking it for granted and not being like, I'm so sorry for this or whatever, and just really, really cherishing it. And a couple of weeks ago, we were at a meeting with the college recruiter, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, this is happening, not far away, and just remembering the little diaper with the little ruffle on the back.
I know. And it's what we do. It's why we raise them. We want them to go out and try and experience the world. Like, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
That season is coming to an end. And for me, there was a grief in that. And I have 2 at home, 2 out. And, but not every mom feels that way. Like, that's what I've learned, is not every mom has that kind of sense of longing for yesteryear, where they're little and they're wearing what you want to put them in, listening to the rules, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like some are just like, let's go. They want them to just fly and they have a blast, and having that too. But it's more sentimental for me. Oh, the ending of something. It's both launching and ending. But
yeah, I for sure have that. I totally have grief for that time. Like, absolutely. But then at the same time, I know what I'm in the middle of with what God has for me, and with what God's doing with Riverbank, and with the people I keep meeting, and with these experiences I keep having. And then he keeps whispering to me about Annabella's future, and like he's calling her to such bigger things than me. And it's just like, it's ringing blood. So, I mean, I've been praying for her husband since she was a baby, and praying for her future, and just believing into that. And so it just, it's wild to just hold on to all this stuff all at once.
Yeah, that's right. There's so many layers to motherhood, especially. And I think when you're a believer, or at least if you have a close relationship with Christ, it makes everything that much more deep, because you're wanting his best. You're praying for his will. You're asking him to help you. Am I making that right decision? Am I parenting well? What did I do wrong? What did I do right? How do I, do the next thing for the next season where they're supposed to be? I'm tracking with everything you're saying. So you kicked into deeper gear in your faith when you had your daughter. And then now you're just currently just moving steady with your faith. Like there's just,
I mean, there's always we don't ever get there. So
Right.
we're just always learning, always praying, always seeking, always reading, always, always worshiping. It sounds kind of stupid, but I'm just always taking it with me and like listen to worship music a lot, listen to podcasts a lot.
Yeah. And intentionality it sounds like to your faith, where you're going after him in every part of your day, whether it's turning on the worship music or listening to something about him, or do you do Bible studies still? Do you?
I mean, I read myself, like I super try to read by myself in the morning.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's hard to be completely consistent, but I think in general, if people can have like a routine like that, it just keeps grounded, keeps you really grounded.
And then I walk my dog every day, and sometimes I listen to the Bible, but a lot of times I just like to be quiet. And I mean, I talk to my dog or like just look at the sky, and sometimes I pray, but sometimes I just like to listen and just.
That is an important thing.
Kind of pray, but trying to just listen.
The listening part, I think, is where we a little bit struggle. We talk and pray and ask for things, and yet part of our prayer life should be being quiet and just, what is the Holy Spirit saying to us, and taking that time to just be silent. And it's not easy. We kind of resist it. So I think it's great you do it on your walks when you're out in nature. I think it's easy for us to kind of use nature as an access way to paying attention to God, because he's just visually right there. Feels like it's his spirit right present in front of us in nature. So
yeah,
you relate to that as well. So tell me a little bit about Riverbank, and where did this, well, first tell everybody what it is. I know. Let's tell everybody what it is. And then I want to hear like the founding of it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of easy to say how it started and then what it is actually.
Okay.
So my first career was in real estate, and I was just bebopping along, selling a lot of houses and just having a lot of sweet clients. And at that time I'm still really active in my church and volunteering and doing all the things that pretty open about that with most of my clients. And they just knew I volunteered all the time, and just kind of started happening on its own. And clients would say like, hey, I didn't know you go to church and you volunteer. Like, this house is coming with an extra fridge and we just bought one. Like, can you find a family who needs this fridge? So I did. And I asked my friend, my outreach pastor at my church, like, hey, my client had this, do you have a family, or what should I do? And he said, oh, you should call so-and-so at the human trafficking division of the Salvation Army and like go from there. So I was like, what are you talking about?
Turn like the left turn. You're like, what?
I was like, okay. So I call, and then my brain's exploding, and then I just start going. I'm in the rabbit hole. So then it just opened my eyes to this world, and I discovered that there's a human trafficking safe house 10 miles from my house. So I live in Michigan, and then it was all uphill or downhill from there, however you look at it. And I connected with the house manager, and I had to sign an NDA. I had to follow someone there. Like, they wouldn't even give me the address. I had to follow someone there, sign the NDA, deliver the fridge because theirs had broken. And then I said, hey, well, just let me know if something else happens and you need something else, and I'll get it for you. And then we kept in touch, and then I kind of started asking her, like, well, how does this work? What's going on here? Like, what happens? And so she told me, like, how the girls and the women are rescued, how long they stay, what goes into their rehabilitation, and then what happens after their restoration, and, where do they go? And then they go on their own, and it takes 6 months, it takes 9 years, depending.
Oh,
and not to get into like the trafficking part, because that's
Podcast on this, actually, on the trafficking in our area.
Who did you have on?
I had on, she's from Saddleback, Kathy Perino.
Okay, yeah, I know her. It's just such a small world.
Area, yeah, and she's done a lot of work for 15 years helping them.
Yeah.
It's a lush, not here in Orange County, which is so.
Yeah, she's amazing. I work with her too. So yeah, that just was very eye-opening to me. So then I just started kind of doing that on my own, continuing to support them, continuing to get calls, and I just kept doing that. And then
Make sure I'm understanding. So you were giving furniture from houses that you were selling and they didn't want it, and you were giving it to
just on my own, like to appliances, like fridges, washers and dryers. And then like I had extra stuff, and so then I was just doing it. And then I just felt like I was called to war, and I wanted to do it on a bigger scale. And it just kind of got on a bigger scale. Like it got a life of its own. More people were calling me, more people had stuff. You know, in 2022, I just said, okay, God, like, I guess we're going to do this.
So literally you just started this from one house that you were selling. You were selling it, and then you start, and then you find access to this whole world of trafficking, and the same houses need furniture. And when you're trying to offload some of the furniture, and then more people just saw what you did, and they're like, oh, where'd you give that to? And how do I do it?
I don't even think they saw it. Like, I think it just happened independently because they didn't know each other, you know? Like, nobody.
So how do people find you? How did they know that you don't even know? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they would call you and say, where did you send your stuff? Or can you come get my stuff and take it there?
They wouldn't even ask me where I sent it. People just started calling me like, can you come and get this?
Oh my goodness. Like this totally fell in your lap.
Yeah.
And you were so nice. You're like, sure, I'll come get it.
Yeah. I just became known, like, worry. And so then 2022, I'm like, okay, guess we're doing this. So let's just make it official. I gotta file all the paperwork and figure it out and do all the things. And I have not spent 1 minute trying to find people to donate stuff. I mean, unless we have a specific need when we're doing something, then we'll do a shout out of like, hey, we need 9 beds today or whatever. But it just got out. It just got out there. I don't know. And then people just started hearing. I mean, our church is awesome and kind of word of mouth kind of thing. And then
Which church are you?
Harbor Point in San Juan.
Oh my gosh. I go there too.
I'll you know.
I'll see you now.
And then I also never spent any time finding like nonprofits who give us like requests. So Rob connected me with a Salvation Army Human Trafficking Division, and then right away I got connected with a couple of like Care Portal and a couple Olive Crest and a couple other places, and then bam, I have like 50 nonprofit partners texting me. So the two things I didn't do were like find people to donate stuff and find people who need stuff. So those two things just kind of happened automatically. And that just showed me that this is a thing that
I
needed, you know? And then it just opens up this whole other thing of like, there is a desperate need for people who are lacking in the basic essentials of daily living. And on the flip, we live in a place of massive abundance.
Yeah.
By the way, is not bad. By the way, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people who are so generous and want to share it. So
yes,
I just became like a little
And you were like the liaison.
Great generosity matchmaker.
That is incredible. This literally, you weren't even searching. You're just getting your job, trying to move the furniture somewhere to give it to somebody in need. And then slowly people are contacting you, word of mouth, and it turned into something so organic. And you weren't looking for anything. You just paid attention to the needs that was out there and helping people. And it was like you were running an organization without having the organization until you actually said, okay, in 2022, we're going to do this officially.
Yeah. And like retrospect, looking back, it's just say yes.
Yes.
Like say a lot and he says yes to you. So he was just asking me to say yes. Like, will you help here? Will you help here? Say yes. And it's not a like say yes at your expense. And so you're, not that kind of, but say yes.
Well, you saw the need and you were willing to keep it going. And I think if you hadn't have had your relationship with God to that personal level, you might not have stepped into that.
Yeah, because it was pretty quiet. I mean, sometimes he's super loud and clear and sledgehammer. And then often he's so subtle and in a whisper. And this was kind of whispery for a while.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So how long until you kind of realized,
probably like 2 years. It was probably a while.
So this was like it's not, for lack of a better word, like a hobby on the side because it just kept happening. So you're like, okay, I'll just keep helping.
Oh, no, it was probably more than that because it probably started when we were doing blessings in a backpack, which was like 28 and then into like COVID stuff. So yeah, it was probably like 3 years. Or 4. Oopsie. Yeah, so it's probably a while.
Good things happen in threes. I always say Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Good things happen in threes. So you literally for 3 years were just helping and filling in when people were calling you, and then
it was not often.
Okay. So then you realize though, this is a thing. There's a need for this. Why don't I make an official organization and then get help? Like, did you find friends to help you? Like, this is starting, like, I'm assuming you're a nonprofit.
We're volunteering.
It's not that easy. It takes some time and it takes some effort. So, did you just do that all on your own, or did you start talking to people and saying, hey, I think I'm supposed to do this? And how did you pick Riverbank as the name? Like, it's free.
That was just kind of like, as soon as I was like, okay, yes, I'm doing it. Then it was like, okay, file the paperwork, do all this stuff. And then it was just like green light, go.
Yeah.
Everything was fast. So it was just the kind of one-offs that took a little while. But Quinn, who is my warehouse director, he is just the most amazing guy. And it was like in youth at Harbor Point at the time, and just always volunteering and outreach, always around. And so he would help me from time to time and just really had a heart for it. And he believed in me and saw it before I did.
Wow.
I mean, he was probably like 19 or something. And he wrote a card and wrote a word out for me and was like, to Nadia and your dreamer. And was like, here, you got to do this. And yeah. And
these people in your path to just, like, God just so graciously, just step by step kind of walked you towards this.
Mm-hmm.
And so when did you realize I got to get a warehouse? Furniture is a huge issue, storage and holding for the right people, fitting, all of that. Like, you need lifters. Like, so do you have a big team? Like, how does this like technically work?
Yeah. So it was just like green light, go right away, and filing the paperwork and doing all the stuff. And so then I was praying and figuring out like, okay, well, first I need a name. And as you experienced, my names are hard to pronounce. So I was like, I'm not dealing with that. I want a phonetic name that people can spell and say. So
That's me. I would not have thought that was like, that's a really good point. I bet a lot of people feel that way when they're having to name things. When they have a name people can't say or spell, they want it to be simple and clear. And I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, and for sure my first name too, like growing up, no one could say either my first name or my maiden name or my last name or anything. So I was praying and like, I want to just mean something to me for sure. And it didn't need to make sense to anybody else. But so I was praying and I was like, God, like, what is it? Like, what should we do? And I was thinking about what God has been to me. I mean, he has so many names in the Bible and like, just, you could go in a million directions and like, he is the river of life and obviously, and so many things. And then I was thinking about a bank and how a bank is like a depository and how like a bank holds things. And then I was thinking about the banks of a river and how the banks of the river like protect the river, the river. And then I love music and I always hear songs. And then I heard the song Banks by Need to Breathe. And there's the line that's like, hold you close, I won't hold you back. I'm going to be the banks of your river. And I was Riverbank. Okay.
Wow. That is so
cool. Easy to say.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah. And it's a really great picture, like of what you think of holding on and storing things. And you have your faith as guiding you through the whole thing. Do you use faith at all when you're like giving your furniture to people? Do you ever pray over them? Or
it's probably. I mean, so that was like, so that's super important to me that like what Jesus did was he addressed the physical need first. And so like, that's what we're doing. And I personally don't like care, about refrigerators. I don't know about them. It's not, my thing, but I learned right away that is a huge problem and that nobody gives refrigerators because they can't move them, they can't store them, they don't have the budget for them. So a lot of foster families and all, this is a podcast for another day, but there's a serious lack of refrigerators and it's causing a big problem in the foster care system. And
really,
kids are getting removed from homes because the families don't have a fridge, and all the nonprofits who are amazing and doing all the hard work, they don't have the budget or the truck or the storage to provide the refrigerator. So like my first day doing Riverbank, I learned this and I was like, oh, okay, so fridges are going to be the number one thing that we do. So fridges and beds are our number one things.
So wait, just to make sure I'm understanding that, especially for the foster families, you're saying that children are sometimes removed from homes because there's not even something as basic as a refrigerator to keep their food fresh.
Yeah, because it's, that's not, the home is not meeting the standard of care. And so where a family would be otherwise able to care for their child and otherwise, a suitable home, it's not a suitable home. And so what I learned also right away is that 87% of kids are removed from the home because of neglect versus abuse. Like, we all grew up watching Law and Order. And for me, I had this flip-flop thinking that abuse was the number one.
Wow.
So that even propelled me even more to think of, we got to get this going. And this is a solvable problem because we are not in the middle of nowhere, Africa.
Right.
Or in America, in California, in Orange County.
Yeah.
With billions of dollars everywhere. We can get fridges and beds in every house in Orange County that needs one. Families can stay together so that kids can stay together. Because if we do that, then of those 87% of kids that would have gone and removed, is say we cut that number in half, but probably would be more, probably.
Wow.
81% of boys in foster care become men in prison, and 71% of girls in foster care become women pregnant before they're 21, and half of those babies end up in foster care.
So the cycle goes on and on.
Yeah, but that it's like bad, okay, but part of the solution is actually easy.
That's right.
It's like actually a mattress or a refrigerator or washer and dryer or whatever. So
the physical need, we can do something about.
yeah,
And tangible needs like parenting skills, abuse, addiction, all of those things that we can't personally maybe do anything about unless we're a specialist, going at home, social work, all of that is not something that the average person can help with.
no.
But this we can. I mean, that is so powerful.
Yeah, and it's so exciting and so hopeful.
That's right.
Let's crank over here and knock this out. Like,
We can do this. We can do this. Yeah.
so easily, because if you have a refrigerator or a bed, then you can go to your parenting class, or you can work on your substance abuse problem, or you can have the hope to like turn it around. But like, if you're sleeping on the floor or you don't have a refrigerator, like, you're not gonna,
Right.
you can't address. And that's like basic psychology 101, that higher needs, you're not going to be able to do the other stuff. So even though it like sounds bleak, it makes me super motivated and pumped up every day that like this is what we get to do. So even though like we're going into some pretty desperate situations and dark places, like we're bringing hope, and people don't think it's real sometimes, and they're like don't understand that we're bringing it for free. And
they're surprised when they find I'm going to be the recipient of a free bed or a free refrigerator or a free desk or whatever it is. They aren't expecting that.
Yeah, and even the social workers are like, wait, what? And then they are also surprised when there's no requirements. I'm like, yeah, just email me the address or like where we're going. Yes.
It's like Christmas. It's like, what a joyful, well, on our end of things, on your end of things,
Yes.
joy in the giving. It's not a joyful situation for them. So I don't want to sound curt.
But it is joyful, and that's part of it too. And like, it's the fridge and the bed is important.
Yeah.
And it's not important because that's just the thing to show them that they're loved, they're seen, they're important.
That's good. Yeah.
Like God loves them. And that's whether we can pray for them or not, whether we say God or not, like we're bringing God to them. And I don't ever like push that or make that the priority, because for me, it's not about that. For me, it's about them like experiencing love. I don't need to like put the stamp on it.
Right. I understand.
I like really was sat there when I was filling out my paperwork, because you have to like click like, are you a religious organization or you're not? And I decided that I was not going to be one, because I wanted to have access to go anywhere I wanted to go.
Right.
I didn't want to be locked out of somewhere. Yeah. And that I know that Jesus goes everywhere with me. I wanted to be able to go into the schools or go to whatever. Right. I mean, it has been cool. We have been able to pray for people. We went to Compton to a single dad who like just got his like 3-month-old baby. The mom was like on drugs. Such a tragic story. Just got his baby. It was freshest little, like the cutest baby ever. We're bringing a crib and diapers and formula and all this stuff. We're praying for him. And as we're praying for him, the lawyer called and says, the judge is like giving him permanent custody, and like well, like we get to do, like, we get moments like that too.
It's so fantastic. And I understand about not claiming your nonprofit as religious because, like you said, you want to be the hands and feet of Christ to go anywhere. And you don't use a sledgehammer to hit people over the head with it, because that's not what God does with us. He meets us right where we are. So right when I was at my lowest, the whole name of this podcast, when I was at my lowest moment and I was scared and I was like, Lord, I need you, but I don't totally know if I trust the Christian faith with all of the different elements. I don't understand it. It's confusing. He said, I can handle that. I bring your doubts to me. So my point is, he literally meets us right where we are before hitting us over the head with who he is and what the scriptures say. He's so gentle with wherever we. I really understand your desire to make this like a label necessarily of a religious organization so people didn't turn you away, because that is one of the biggest problems with religious nonprofits. And I know because I used to run one, and it's hard. It's hard for fundraising. It's hard to bridge those gaps of what your needs are, because people don't necessarily always want to work with a religious, organization, whatever that religion is.
Yeah.
And yet you founded it based on your own, with your own faith and God guiding you. So that's there, that's the, yeah.
And I'm totally secure in my faith. And so it doesn't bother me at all. And if you look at social media or you look at our website, there's Bible stuff on there. So it's a lot of secret.
So, yeah.
And, I'm not worried about it. And the other thing to say about it is that what's also super important for me about what we do is that, so if somebody needs a refrigerator, we're going to give them a refrigerator, but we're also going to give them food or other stuff. And the verse that I really love, that is kind of one of our founding verses, is James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift comes from above, from Father of heavenly lights, who doesn't change and doesn't cast a shifting shadow. And because he's just so good, and he gives good gifts, and so must we give good gifts.
So good.
Why I do this, because not only do we all deserve to have what we need, we all deserve to have like abundance. So I just want to break off scarcity over everybody. So we always give more. I mean, they're already freaked out enough that they're getting a free fridge or a free whatever. And then it's like even more surprising when we bring extra stuff or toys for the kids or food or whatever, because people deserve nice things. So I'm like super clear about, we can take used things, but like, I don't want any of your crap, like, if you wouldn't have it in your house, please don't bring it to me. We want people to have dignity. We want people to have nice things. Like, if used things are okay for appliances and furniture and whatever, and it can be used, but like, we're not taking stuff with like scratches and can be like worn or whatever, like a worn leather chair, but
no, damaged, broken and damaged, and really looks, out, and like, who would want it if
this is about like helping people restore their dignity and feel their value and understand that God loves them and that they deserve love, and that God actually wants them to have more than they could possibly imagine, and that's also not just possible, but that's what God wants for us. Jesus died on the cross for us to have exceedingly more than we could ask or imagine. He died on the cross for us to do more than he did. So that certainly doesn't mean that we just like through life, getting by, squeaking by, doing nothing. So, when we just always do more as a matter of principle.
That's incredible. So
I don't know why I just got a little bit like, I'm just stuck on that. So
I love it, because you're acting out the abundance that God wants for us. Like, you're you're kind of speaking that over every family, every person that you're giving stuff to, whether you say it or not, your actions are showing them you are meant to, you are worth having nice things. You are meant to live in abundance, not greed abundance. I'm taking everything, but have your needs met, to be able to thrive, to be able to have a decent night's sleep so you can go to work and you can think clearly and you can have food that's fresh for your children and yourself. Like that's just basic necessity that actually is abundance, is my point. That's the abundance that God wants for us. And yet we get really confused, I think, in American culture, especially.
Yeah.
Where we think abundance is like all this excess, and you're not saying that. You're saying this is, the thriving that he intends for us, is to have our basic needs met in our flesh so that we can go out and be productive and have dominion over the earth like we're supposed to, like it says in Genesis. So I just love your perspective on this. Like, I don't know. Does everybody know this, that you have this kind of story behind why you're doing what you're doing? I mean, your workers know that, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story that we tell when we talk to donors, or like when you get our newsletters, like if you're a monthly giver or you like come to our stuff, and like that's our language. And when we talk to people, that's the message. That's important. I think that's
for sure, because it's really inspiring and it's truth. You know what I mean? It's just good. It's goodness. And it's because of him ultimately, like, that you're able to make sense of providing these needs to people because they are made in his image. So tell me about how do you make the matches? Like, how do you find the people in need? No, in Orange County, because I've interviewed quite a few philanthropies now in our area, you guys all work together. If you're for somebody who might have a pregnant teen in the area or young parents and they're needing more, they, get referred to another philanthropy that provides this kind of service, or somebody from addiction is trying to rebuild their life. They get connected to needing a home and sharing a roommate situation or needing a furnace. So how do you find your clients, the people that you're giving to?
So kind of right away, I don't really remember, like when we were pre-chatting before this, how I knew Wendy, I think, and I don't even remember like how we got connected. And just really, I think in even 2022, right away, I got connected with everybody right away. That's your trafficking and helping in the homeless space.
Okay.
It's just a very small world.
Right.
A lot of the time, someone who had been sold for sex has been homeless and has been in foster care. So a lot of people who are working in those spaces they're kind of wanting the same. And then it's a pretty small group, kind of. And then there is a lot, but then there's not a lot. So I just got connected to kind of all those nonprofits at once. And then there are some like online portals that some of us are a part of. So we just get emails. Like, so I get 5 or 10 emails every day from different nonprofits with requests, and then I get separate emails or calls from like specific nonprofits directly from them with requests.
What's turnaround time? So when you get a request, let's say you get an email and we need 2 twin beds and a washer and dryer.
Ooh.
And you have workers then in your warehouse like Quinn and I know some other people, and they just take a truck, at one of your trucks, I'm guessing you have trucks, and they load it up and within a few days, or how does it be the people?
Well, I don't vet anybody. If I'm getting the request, it's coming from a nonprofit.
Okay.
So since we're not like big, like the Red Cross or Goodwill, no, like regular people in the public don't know about us. So we're just getting requests from nonprofits.
I see.
I don't vet anybody. Like social workers and caseworkers are calling us. So we just, if we have it, we say yes. And that's how that goes. And that's Quinn's main job, is to monitor our inventory. So he's on our receiving end of what we're getting picked up, or what's getting picked up, and then what's going out. And we just say yes as much as we can. So if we have something in and he says yes and schedule the delivery of it. So we have him and another guy working in the warehouse, and we're just saying yes as much as we can. Like, I think right now I got a call right before we hopped on from an interior designer who's like, hey, I know this is last minute, but can we drop off something that we have movers coming? So that's awesome. And I know I don't have to ask for photos because it's coming from an interior designer. I know it's good to be in good shape and it's going to be good. So I'm like, the roll-up door's open, just put it anywhere.
But I mean, I imagine, like, to be honest, what about people who are in their elderly years, and when it's their estates, when they are passing on and their kids maybe don't live in the state, or they can't use the furniture? I mean, that could overwhelm you, but like,
I get a lot of those calls, and the hard part is a lot of the places that we're furnishing are really small, and the bedrooms are really small, and the more of those, like, come and clean my grandpa's house out. That furniture is really big and really heavy. And we need like smaller, lighter furniture. Especially, we have a lot of college students who are homeless and like who are moving into temporary housing, or like kids who have aged out from foster care, or like DV survivors who are like just moving into temporary. There's like a lot of moving kind of often. So we like for the furniture to be light and easy to move. So like IKEA World Market kind of
to work with. I mean, somebody else, could they drop it off if these are like bigger, bulkier items, or no? You really just need stuff that's elite. Or
we just like to see, like, we always ask for photos on the website. It says kind of like, and you donate, and we just take it case by case to see what it is. And sometimes, I mean, every situation is so different. Like, we just furnished a group home for 9 single moms. So we had really specific needs for that home. And normally I would say, please do not give me a giant dining room table for 12. I needed a giant dining room table for 12.
Wow.
So like, it really depends.
So specific.
Yeah.
So unique, and yet some of it is, like you said, generic, and that you need smaller, easier to move. Like it gets so granular with this group needs this, and you don't know what's coming. And so you have a huge warehouse somewhere, like here in.
Yeah, we have this year in February, God did the most amazing thing, and we have the perfect warehouse in San Juan, and it's awesome. And we have like the Costco, Home Depot, like racks or whatever.
The storage units. Yeah.
A forklift. So, but the knives are so strong, they just go up the ladder and like throw it up there.
Great. Like, you just created the coolest niche for yourself to go out and help people. And
yeah, it's really fun. I love giving tours. That's my favorite thing. It's such a happy place. I love showing it. And I got to do an interview on Christian radio last week, and she was asking me something, and it turned into this answer, which I didn't expect. And I was so focused on not having a big enough storage, which we didn't. And it was really hard. And so I was just singularly focused on, God, please give me a bigger place. Because we had a teeny tiny place that was like, you can't see my office upstairs, but in my house, but it was like this big. Actually, it was probably smaller than that. And I was just so singularly focused on that.
Yeah.
Waiting for it, looking for it, believing for it, knowing that God was gonna provide it and find it. And he did. He made it into a place where people come to find him. And like people come to seek him. Like he gave me the word dwelling place. And so like people come and hang out there, and we like do prayer on Monday morning there. And people just started showing up there. And every single day, somebody just pops by there. And that has just been the coolest part of like just volunteers and friends and board members and like prospective donors and people wanting to know more. And like went out Office Park, and we had an article come out in the local San Juan paper. And when the fires happened in LA, we did a fire drive at Harbor Point, and I was on Fox 11 News. I mean, it was like the craziest 2 weeks of life. And then we found the spot, and it was just wild. And so then people just started showing up. It was just only God, you know.
One thing leads to another. When God wants something to happen, he finds a way. And it's our job to be faith-filled and try to be as understanding and open to what he's doing, right? That's our intent.
Just say yes and get out of the way. I was like, okay. I surrender. So it's just been so cool.
This is the adventure of God. Like this, I've had another guest on talking about the adventure of God. And I'm like, that's so true. Like everyone I'm interviewing, he does such unique things when people are willing and they're open and they're looking. And then they're obedient, like you said, they're saying yes, and they're just letting him influence and inspire, and then it happens. And it's so cool to see the mystery and the adventure. And you just kind of buckle up and go, oh, I'm here for the ride, and I'll do my part, and you do yours, God. And then he just typically blesses and blesses and blesses when it's for his kingdom and it's for his people. Who came, right? He came for the sick. He didn't come for the healthy. He wants everyone to know him. And I'm just so impressed with what you're doing. So tell us about coming up in Christmas. And I just had Amber on from the James Relief Project. We're airing these in back-to-back Mondays. I air every Monday before your collaboration of a cream that you're doing on Sunday, December 7th, I think it is, right? So tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be working with them. And, I look at what Amber does with James Relief, and this is what I say about everyone like her, because they are doing the hard work. They are like in the trenches with people who are suffering from addiction and like really dealing with the hard thing. And how I look at it, we are coming in and doing the easy thing. So that they can really come in and focus and do the hard things. So we are doing a blessing bag event where we're hosting it at Riverbank, and it's going to be super fun. And pre-order your bags, and you can come and make a blessing bag that is really thoughtful and intentionally put together for people who are living on the street, who likely are addicted to drugs and who are suffering. So there are really specific things that they need. So not just like granola bars and a Bible verse, like specific first aid kit that are for this type of thing, and socks and hand warmers and things like that. You get to come and buy as many bags as you want, make them, and then take them and keep them in your car with you so that when you're out and about, you can pass them out. And then at the warehouse, we're going to have like hot chocolate, and Crystal, who works with Amber, is the best baker on the earth, and she made all this like yummy Christmas yummy goodies. And you can bring your kids and like write cards, and it's like a lot of the stuff that I do for sure is not kid friendly. So it's not volunteer friendly, because who can move a fridge? Like
right,
really anyone except for Quinn. So I'm really excited to like have something that kids can be included. But what I am the most excited about, and this is what Amber and Crystal and I are like really wanting to do, is like encourage people to interact with people who are different from them.
Yes.
And see people who are invisible.
Yes.
And,
and them the dignity.
Yeah. And like I kind of have a hard time with some people in the nonprofit space, and some people even in the church space, who use words that are trying to be politically correct, like under-resourced and unhoused. And like, I get what they're trying to do, but I think it kind of takes away from it. And it's like these people live on the streets.
Yeah.
Children are sold for sex, for money. Like, lose the pain of what it is. Like people are sleeping in the street, in the ground, in the dirt, and have their shoes stolen while they're sleeping.
Right.
So then they only have socks, and then it's freezing, and then the sock cap will, and then they're getting sick, and then they're losing their toes, so.
I think that in these politically correct terms, right, like we want to give dignity, but also at the price of then making it sound almost okay.
Yeah.
And not emotional. And when the reality is these people are suffering and they need help. I think also what happens is what Amber was explaining when we talked was obviously a lot of people who are homeless or experiencing homelessness. I know there's different ways to say that. A lot of them are mentally ill and drug addicts because they're mentally ill, because they aren't being treated. They don't want their medication. They don't like the medication. They can't get medication. So they're self-medicating with drugs. There's a lot of reasons why people are going through homelessness. And I think it's confusing to the average person walking by because it just seems like you made a choice to take drugs. I'm not going to help you. And yet there's always a story there. And even in that situation, they still deserve dignity and eye contact, and they're human, right? So a lot of what you're doing with this actual event is you're asking the people who come and volunteer to maybe interact with the recipients of what you're doing, if they show up too. So are you saying your recipients are actually going to be there too, like some of the families, the foster families, or the...
No, like the blessing bag event is just for people who want to purchase the bags to come and make the bag.
Okay.
And when you are taking the bag home and then you're giving them out however you want.
Got it. And that's when you're having the contact with them where you're handing it to them. Yeah. My kids and I did that years ago during COVID. I had them create backpacks and we went around and they were a little nervous to do it because they were younger. I did a few of them for them that we had made, but we made, I don't know, 30 or 40 or something. And it was all of that. It was socks and sweatshirts and some food and toiletries and all of that. So I love that you guys are doing that. What is the cost of each bag?
$25 bag.
A bag. Okay. And if people want to donate, I know there's a link, like if they can't come, but they want to donate.
Yes.
You'll give me that link. And then what about the people who want to come and want to stuff a bag, but then don't want to actually give the bag to somebody or like I'm going out of town for the next week. Got it.
They can leave the bag there.
Okay. So this is a way for people to be involved at any level.
Any level. And we still are looking for sponsors. And we can, like a corporate sponsor can like do any level now to because we had to pre-order, 500 bags and 500 stuffs and all the things.
So to become a sponsor, do they also just go to the link that we'll put in the show notes, or do they need to actually email you?
Either. Yeah.
Either. Okay. Got it. Really, really cool that you guys are collaborating together on that, especially for the holidays. And so one of my questions before we wrap is, as the year comes to an end and people are donating and cleaning out different things for tax write-offs, is this the kind of thing where if they have a piece of furniture, they should email you and just say, hey, I'm getting rid of this, rather than giving it to Goodwill? I heard the podcast.
Please go to our website and click on the thing that said how to donate. And that gives a really good idea of what to do and sends you to how to do it. And it's basically is just like email us.
Email you
from there.
Incredible. And so do you see your organization as like getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Because it's just, you're pretty new. You're only 3 years new.
I mean, we already have requests of like, will you move to Long Beach and will you add to Fullerton? And I mean, we do, like, I am in Orange County and we serve Orange County, but we serve LA a lot. And we serve LA a lot, and we serve San Diego a lot. And so this is not a unique need to here. And there are a lot of other states and areas that are far worse off than we are. So, yeah,
not a
problem that is here. So
So grateful to you for what you're doing, Nadia, and how you have just listened to the Lord and you've obeyed and you've heeded the call and it happens so organically. That's what's really neat about your story is it didn't actually come out of your own necessarily suffering of experiencing any of these things, but God obviously saw your heart and just like walked you through this and tuned this and you've just said yes and now he's growing it and sounds like you have a great team of other I know some of them are believers because I've seen the pictures of them and I've seen them at Harbor Point and stuff, but how awesome that you have such a great group of people who believe in this and now you have the whole 9 yards. Like you've just done such a great job with it, so I'm excited to just get it out into our community. When I wrap my podcast, I always ask my guests this last question, as you know, Room at the Table is the name of the podcast because the Lord really always has room at his table for whatever suffering they've been through, whatever doubt they have, whatever anger, whatever sin. So what group of people, or if you have individuals, some people will sometimes say my sister or my brother, things like, who do you know that even for them, the Lord has room at his table for them too?
I read this question, thought about my answer, and I mean, like, he just loves everybody, and there is room for everybody. And I guess, obviously, what I'm doing is specifically for, the orphans and the fatherless, and I especially care for them and want them to know that there's room at the table for them. And while I don't have that story, my dad was an orphan and in foster care when he came to America. But what is super heartbreaking and a burden on my heart right now when I look at our country are the young people who hate God and who hate each other and hate themselves and are just especially the young men and just that group of young men.
You have a lot of people in there. You have your orphans and your fatherless and really young men who don't know what being a godly man is and don't want to know,
Right, like the 18 to 30 who are I don't want to get married, I don't want a career, they're just so the lost, I'm going to call them boys,
yes.
That group of people who there are so many people out there right now who are pursuing them and going after them and trying to shepherd them, and it's beautiful to see, and there's beautiful miracles and movement happening there right now, and there's a big turning point there right now, but that is just heartbreaking to watch, just as a mom right now, and just to compare in other times in history to look back at men who were 25 50 years ago. And even when I look at Quinn, he's 25 and he's doing with his life, and his friends who are married and they're just they're thriving, and he's on that path and his career and church and God and all this stuff. I see the hopefulness, but then I see the absolute despair on the other side of it. It's
kind of two extremes, right? I know that God's plan, especially for young men who are starting their life or trying to start their life. I mean, as we know from statistics, when you have a father in the home, the chances of the children, being successful and feeling valued are so much higher than when you have a fatherless home. And so I hear what you're saying. We need our young men to know you're valued, to feel confident, and feel Godfident. There's that word Godfidence where you know who you are in him.
Mm-hmm.
Get through kind of the BS that you might have gone through with your trauma and your back, whatever that was for you with your family or growing up or your poverty, and pushing through and knowing that there's so much more for you. So I do think a lot of, at least in American culture, a lot of issues would be circumvented if we had the youth of men, boys knowing who I am and I can do this, and it's not hopeless. They don't have to repeat the patterns, of things they've done. I'm sure you see that all the time with the populations that you guys are serving.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. And we need to be more in prayer really for our youth so that there's hope. There's hope for them, that they are interested in learning about who God says they are, not who the world and maybe their trauma says that they are. So
Yeah.
great response to that. Well, God bless you, Nadia, for everything that you're doing. It's so exciting. And I encourage everybody to go to Riverbank. Your website is, and we'll put it in the show notes, but it's rvbk.org.
Yeah. And follow us on Instagram. That's where we post a lot of what's happening. And when we get a specific need, we post it on there. And oftentimes, like when we get something random going on, like that's just the best way to kind of know what's going on.
Okay.
And when we're doing something last minute, which kind of happens all the time.
Yeah.
We get a lot of emergency placements of like babies. Like we get calls of like, I'm picking up a baby in 2 hours. Do you have a yada yada?
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, we're really trying to like just grow our social media so that we can be able to respond. I mean, we respond immediately, but it just the more of that, like the more helps.
Be top of mind, when somebody has something to get rid of, and for somebody who needs something, that you guys are top of mind in this area, especially. So, for you is that this grows to other, cities and states. I'm not saying you'd have to do it, but I'm saying somebody could maybe make a chain, emulate what you're doing, and we could help more and more people. So God bless you for everything you're doing. This has been a total pleasure to just hear how organically this came about and how you're just continually saying yes to where God's growing it. So I'm thankful that I'm in your community. Now I can give my goodies to you and maybe even get involved. Like I would love to be at your event on the 7th if I can swing it and get my kids there. And
come by another time for a tour.
Okay, so awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a joy.
Thanks for listening to Room at the Table with Kimberly Milo, friends. If you're enjoying the show, please like, follow, rate, star, and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. This all helps grow the show and helps listeners find us. And if you know of a Christian with an amazing testimony or ministry, feel free to direct message me on social media at Room at the Table with Kimberly Milo. Or you can email me at roomatthetableforyou@gmail.com. Thanks for your support, and remember, God loves you, and so do I.